Good morning, everyone. Myself Jyoti, who is a lecturer in SJ Government Polytechnic in Chemical Engineering Department. So, we were learning about the subject called the particulate technology from various sessions. So, in this session, we will learn about the tube mill and the rod mill, the construction and the working mechanism of the tube mill and the rod mill, and the difference between the crushing and the grinding, comparison between crushing and the grinding operation. So in the last session, we have learnt about the ball mill. So how the ball mill looks like. If you can recall the last session class, you have a ball mill. You have a various the balls with various sizes and what material it has made up of, and what is the critical speed, what is centrifuging, and what is the operating speed has to be maintained in order to get the efficiency in a ball mill in order to get a very fine particles size particles after the crushing of the feed material. So, and we have learned what is a critical speed, that is the minimum speed at which the centrifuging occurs is called the critical speed. ಸೆಂಟ್ರಿಫ್ಯೂಜಿಂಗ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅಂದಾಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏನದು ಕ್ರಶ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಕ್ರಶ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಸೆಂಟ್ರಿಫ್ಯೂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಅಥವಾ ಬಾಲ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಬೀನ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ರೈಟ್ ರೌಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಸೈಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮಿಲ್ and then we say that the mill is said to be centrifuged. So then we have learnt also about what are the advantages of using the ball mill. So what is the speed at which the speed at which the ball mill usually operates, and at what volume the balls should be filled into the ball mill. All that we have learnt in the last session. So in continuation with that, we will learn today about the tube mill, rod mill. So this is how the tube mill looks like. Just observe. So here the clinker is being taken as a feed material, and it is been after the crushing process, the cement is being out as a grinding media. You can see we usually the grinding media is of pebbles here. Instead of balls, it is of pebbles, as a smaller in size when compared to the balls in the ball mill. So you can say here that depending on the type of the product we want to get, there may be some alterations in the tube mill. So usually it is similar to the ball mill with an operation, but it is a bit the longer in size. The length wise nodaga it is greater than in diameter agli matte length agli ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ದೊಡ್ಡದಿರುತ್ತೆ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಟು ದ ಬಾಲ್ ಮಿಲ್ಗೆ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಗ್ರೈಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಲಿಂಟ್ ಪೆಬಲ್ಸ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಪೆಬಲ್ಸ್ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಡಯಾಮೀಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪೆಬಲ್ಸ್ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಲೆಸ್ ದೆನ್ ದ ಬಾಲ್ ಮಿಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. The speed of operation is about 6,200 RPM, and it usually operates with the help of a gear, the bearing mechanism or the gear which has got. So can be used for, as we have already learnt in ball mill, this also can be used for both wet and dry material, grinding of the both wet and dry material. The wet grinding in the sense we use water while grinding process is going on, or the side reduction process is going on. Dry and without the addition of water, we just carry out the dry material reduction process. As in the ball mill, here also pebbles are used various sizes. So pebbles nodi illond grinding media ide, illond grinding media ide. Pebbles na ಬೇರೆ ಸೈಜನ್ನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, and size of the pebble is less than that of the balls which is used in the ball mills. Usually impact action in the same similar where it is ball mill, the balls are being carried and it is being dropped from a certain height during the rotation of the mill. Here also the pebbles are being carried to a certain height during the rotation of the mill, and it is being dropped from a certain height so that the crushing the grinding the size reduction operation will takes place, or the grinding action will takes place. So product ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ, so that product is very finer than the product which is obtained in the ball mill. So usually it is been used in a hard rock or the Portland cement clinker because of their simplicity. I mean, as it is larger in size, in diameter also, and in length also, usually this operates with a usually it will operate in a lower speed ಅಲ್ಲಿ operate ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So the speed ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೆ, so 6200 revolutions per minute ಅಲ್ಲಿ operate ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So that is about the rod mill. The very simple as compared to the ball mill. Here balls we have used. Here the rods are being the pebbles are being used. The pebbles are very smaller in size than the balls in the ball mill, and the operation is very similar to the ball mill here. So you have this is about the rod tube mill, right? The rod mill as only the name indicates that ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಬಾಲ್ ಮಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಲ್ಸ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಗ್ರೈಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಆಗಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನದು ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಮಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಮಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ we will use the pebbles, whereas in a rod mill we use rods, the steel rods we use for the as a grinding media for the reduction of the solids, for the reduction of the solids. So here you can see the clear difference is being shown between the ball mill and the rod mill. Ball mill ಮತ್ತೆ rod mill ಗೆ the difference is being shown here. The rod mill in the inner part, the sectional view of the rod mill is also being shown here. So with the help of the motor mechanism it operates. So it will rotation ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅಂತೂ the grinding once start ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮಿಲ್ಲನ್ನು, so as we have observed in the laboratory, ಎಷ್ಟು ಸೌಂಡ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ we cannot sit in a laboratory during the reduction process. We usually learn in a laboratory, we usually run in a laboratory about 10 minutes to 15 minutes for 1 kg of the material, the feed material, in order to grind to a very fine powder so that it can pass through a 200 mesh size screen. ಆವಾಗ ನಾವು ಎಷ್ಟು sound ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ the sound is unbearable sound, that is. So here you can see in a rod mill you have a rods instead of a balls or the pebbles. You have a rod. By the movement of the rods the crushing action takes place. Here you can see the ores are being put in order to reduce in size. So rod mill, as we have discussed, it is the working principle is similar to the ball mill, and the grinding media here is of steel rods, which is the parallel to the axis of the shell instead of the balls. Now the parallel to the axis anta andre the parallel to the axis of the shell. It rotates parallel to the axis of the shell instead of balls in the ball mill. As the cylinder rotates, because of the centrifugal the force, the rods are being carried to a certain height in the mill, and then it falls down. Thereby the impact force, the grinding effect will act onto the feed material inside the chamber. As the mill rotates, the rods are being carried out and it is being dropped from a certain height, and then it falls down onto the feed material. So thereby the grinding or the crushing action takes place, usually by the impact force. Grinding effect on the material in the chamber is by the impact force. So the material to be crushed is by the moving of the grinding media, and the discharges out the material grinding media ಇಂದ ಕ್ರಶ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತು ಡಿಸ್ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಆಚೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವುದರಿಂದ, ಬೈ ದ ಮಿಲ್, ಬೈ ದ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಓವರ್ಫ್ಲೋ ಅಂದರೆ ಗ್ರೈಂಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ 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 ಆ ಫೋರ್ಸಿಂದ ಆಚೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ದ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕಮ್ ಔಟ್. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ವೆರಿ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್, ದ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರಾಡ್ ಮಿಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ mill. All the principle of operation are similar to the ball mill, The thing, except this, the grinding media here in the ball mill, we use the balls. In the tube mill, we use the pebbles, which are smaller in size when compared to the balls. And in the rod mill, we use rods. With the help of the rod, the crushing action is taken place. So we will we will understand the comparison between the crushing and grinding, how exactly it is, what it is. So the part in the crushing, the particles are reduced in size by compression in the particles reduce ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, whereas in grinding ಅಲ್ಲಿ usually impact ಮತ್ತು attrition force in the particles will be reduced in size. Impact ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು? Impact ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು certain height ಇಂದ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಬೀಳೋದು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಲ್ ಮಿಲ್ ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಫೋರ್ಸು, ರಾಡ್ ಮಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಫೋರ್ಸು, ಆಲ್ ದಟ್ ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್, ಫೈನ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಆಟ್ರಿಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ರಬ್ ಮಾಡೋದು. ಸೊ ಒಂದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಆಪೋಸಿಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನಲ್ಲಿ ರಬ್ ಮಾಡೋದು. ಆ ರಬ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಏನು ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಬರುತ್ತೋ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೈ ದ ಆಟ್ರಿಷನ್. ಸೊ ದ ಗ್ರೈಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಟೇಕನ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಬೈ ದ ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಆಟ್ರಿಷನ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. So in crushing, we aim at breaking the larger pieces of solid material into smaller lumps. Crushing ali we will get the particle of coarser size particle, whereas in grinding ali we will get the feed particle in size reduction ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀವೋ that will be taken in the form of a powder. So aimed at reducing the crushed feed to powder. Here the aimed at the solid particles into lumps or the coarse size particles. Here in the crushing, it is being operated in an open circuit fashion, and you will feed the material and you will crush in an equipment and you will get the product. Again, again you don't crush back in a various mills. In a grinding equipments are always operated in a closed circuit until we get a fine powder, the fine the product. It is being operated continuously, we say, in a grinding. So closed circuit ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ರಷರ್ಸ್ ಆಪ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಡ್ರೈ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ಸ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸೇವಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ವಿಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಡ್ರೈ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಬೀನ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್. ವೆರಾಸ್ ಇನ್ ಗ್ರೈಂಡರ್ಸ್ನ ಆಪ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಇನ್ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಸರ್ಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಅ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫೈಯರ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೀನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ separation. Classifier, you will be learning in detail the classification, different types of classifiers ಹೆಂಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು you will be learning in your further units, in the third unit and the second unit you will be learning. I think you will be learning in the second unit classifier. You have a rack classifier, cyclone separators, all those classifiers you will be learning. So operation is performed only on the dry feed, whereas in grinding can be performed both for dry feed and as well as wet feed. Reduction ratio exceeds 6 to 8. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ reduction ratio ಅಂದರೆ the efficiency, the crushing efficiency is maximum in a grinding, whereas in compared to the crushing. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ರಷರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 2 types ಇದೆ, ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಮತ್ತು ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕ್ರಷರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ 2 types ಇದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೈಂಡರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ you have a fine grinders and the ultra fine grinders you have. The crushers are heavy duty and low speed machines. Heavy duty and it can take the larger capacity of the feed in order to crush the material, and it usually operates in a very low speed. In a fine grinding, the feed is of 5 to 2 mm and the product size is of points. Very fine product we will get. It is of 0.1 mm and they are very less light duty and a very small capacity they can handle, and they are very high speed machines compared to the crushing equipments. They are very light duty and high speed machines in grinding machines are, whereas the crushing machines are very high duty and the low speed machines. So in coarse cutting ali feed size ನಾವು 1500 mm to 40 mm ತಗೊಂತೀವಿ, and the product size we will get it as 50 to 5 mm, whereas in the fine grinding you will get from the feed size of 5 to 2 mm and the product size, feed size is of 5 to 2 mm and the product size is of from 0.1 mm, about 200 mesh size. So energy consumption per unit mass of the product is very low. So here as they rotate at a high speed and their aim to give a very fine product, the power consumption is also energy consumption per unit mass of the product is also very high. So this is these are the points that can be learnt during the comparison of the crushing and the grinding process. So the references, you can go through the references. I think you have understood from the tube mill and the rod mill how exactly the main difference is in the grinding media ಮಾತ್ರ balls, pebbles ಮತ್ತೆ rods. So ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತಕ್ಕಂಗೆ they have given the names of ball mill. The capacity mellow, these are the crushers, we can say. The crushers and the grinders also, both it is used for wet and the dry reduction of the solids. So there the low speed machines, we can say, they can be operated at high speed also to a maximum extent, so but should be operated within the critical speed of the equipment. So the questions could be asked on this is the one important question is on the crushing and the grinding, or compare between the crushing and the grinding process ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಆವಾಗ 10 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ ಆಲ್ 10 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ರಿಟರ್ನ್. 5 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ 5 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಫಾರ್ 5 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೀಬೇಕೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೀಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಸ್ಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ದ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರಾಡ್ ಮಿಲ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ದ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಬಾಲ್ ಮಿಲ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್ ದ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲನೇಷನ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್. And the tube mill ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ you have to write about the construction, the working part of it. So the simple, all the principle of operation of the ball mill, tube mill or the rod mill for the size reduction process is very similar. So you have to remember the speed at which they operate. So and also what type of the force is being applied in order to reduce the larger size particle to a smaller size particle. So both that ಅದನ್ನು ಎರಡನ್ನು ನೀವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ, ಅವೆರಡನ್ನು ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ the rest all the principle of operation is all same. So the references, you can go to the subjects and the Google search for the figures, and also you can Google search for the YouTube links. I hope you have benefited from this session of the explanation of the rod mill and the tube mill and the comparison between the grinding and the crushing process. Thank you all for listening.